My child, stop, just for this moment. Stop. I did not say slow down. I did not say rest later. I did not say you can breathe when the work is finished. I said stop. You have been moving through days like a wound that refuses to close. You have been smiling in rooms where your heart was nowhere to be found. You have been whispering to yourself that you are fine, while something inside you has been quietly bleeding for months, maybe years. And I know you do not say that out loud. I know you have learned to dress exhaustion in the clothes of discipline. You have called it effort. You have renamed your weariness as loyalty. You have told yourself that if you just keep going, just keep proving, just keep carrying, then finally, someone will see, someone will stay, someone will tell you that you have done enough, but no one has said it. Have they? You have been waiting for a sign, a door to open, a phone to ring, a heart to change, a season to break. You have been watching the horizon for weeks, for months, for years, asking me silently, desperately, when? When will it be my turn? When will the weight lift? When will I feel safe again? And today I am answering you, not with thunder, not with fire, not with an angel descending in bright light. I am answering you with this quiet voice inside your chest that you almost ignored. I am answering you with the sudden stillness you felt just before you opened this message. The sign you have been begging for should have come yesterday. Do you hear me? The healing should have started last month. The breakthrough should have come 3 weeks ago. The apology should have been spoken last year. The doors should have already opened. The chains should have already fallen. The answer to that prayer you keep whispering in the dark, the one you are almost embarrassed to still be praying, that answer was prepared for you before you even asked. So why are you still waiting? Because something has been stealing your time. Not stealing your time as in making you busy. Something has been stealing the very moments I set aside for your deliverance. Something has been intercepting the letters of grace I sent to your address. Something has been rerouting the miracles I launched toward your life before the foundation of the world. You have been living under a ceiling you did not build. You have been walking through a fog you did not summon. You have been fighting battles I already won for you 2,000 years ago. And you are exhausted. Not because you are weak, not because you lack faith, not because you have failed me. You are exhausted because you have been fighting an invisible war with visible weapons. You have been trying to earn what I have already given. You have been trying to fix what I have already finished. You have been trying to open doors that I closed for your protection, and you have been banging on them until your knuckles bled, believing your pain was proof of your love. But I've never asked you to bleed for closed doors. I've never asked you to sacrifice your peace on the altar of someone else's comfort. I've never asked you to carry what was never yours to hold. Do you remember David? David, who was anointed king while he was still a shepherd boy. David, who had the oil on his head and the promise in his heart and the prophet's word in his ears. And then he waited, for years. He ran through caves. He hid in fields. He pretended to be crazy to save his own life. He watched the man who was supposed to be his enemy become his father-in-law. He collected slingshot stones while wearing the armor of a king who had already been rejected. And do you know what nearly destroyed him? Not Goliath, not the wilderness, not the giant. It was the waiting. It was the wondering if Samuel had made a mistake. It was the midnight hours when he asked me, "Did you really say what I thought you said?" It was the ache of seeing the throne occupied by someone who had no right to sit there, someone who was actively trying to kill him. While David himself lived in the shadows of caves he never wanted to call home. But here is what David did not see while he was hiding. Here is what you are not seeing right now. Every cave was a classroom. Every delay was a defense. Every closed door was a mercy I wrapped in frustration so you would stop walking into disaster. I kept David in the wilderness not because I forgot him, but because I was protecting him from a throne that would have destroyed him before he was ready. I was building something in him that could only be built in the quiet. I was teaching his hands to war and his heart to trust while no one was watching, and I am doing the same thing in you. But you have been fighting the wilderness, you have been cursing the quiet, you have been calling my protection punishment and my silence abandonment. You have been looking for signs in the sky while ignoring the still small voice inside your chest that has been whispering the answer all along. The sign should have come yesterday. Do you understand what I'm telling you? I'm telling you that the delay is not denial, but the delay has also become dangerous, because while you were waiting for a sign, you stopped moving. While you were looking for a door to open, you stopped knocking. While you were waiting for permission to live, you forgot that I already gave you life. There is a difference between waiting on me and waiting for something that will never come. And there are things you are still waiting for that I'm never going to send. Not because I am cruel, not because I do not hear you, but because what you are asking for would destroy the very thing I am trying to build inside you. You are begging for a cage with gold bars and calling it a blessing. You are weeping over relationships that I removed with surgical precision because they were tumors on your soul. You are asking me to bring back what I already killed so it could stop killing you. And that is why the sign has been delayed. Not because I'm slow, not because I'm angry, but because you have been looking for confirmation of a path I never put you on in the first place. Let that land. Let the weight of that sentence press into the places you have been hiding. You have been asking me to bless what I'm trying to end. You have been asking me to heal what I'm trying to remove. You have been asking me to send back what I rescued you from. And I love you too much to answer that prayer. I love you too much to let you have what you want, when what you want is a slow death disguised as comfort. I love you too much to let you return to Egypt just because the wilderness feels lonely. I love you too much to let you rebuild what I tore down so you could finally be free. But you do not see that yet. You still think the pain of leaving is worse than the pain of staying. You still think the familiar chains are safer than the unknown freedom. You still think the voice that calls you back to your old life is whispering wisdom when it is actually screaming fear. And that is why the sign has not come. Because you are asking for a sign to go back, and I'm trying to give you a sign to go forward. Do you remember Joseph? Joseph the dreamer. Joseph who saw the stars bow to him when he was barely 17. Joseph who was thrown into a pit by his own brothers and sold as a slave and falsely accused and forgotten in a prison for years and years and years. And every single morning in that prison, Joseph woke up and asked me the same question you have been asking. When? When will the promise come true? When will the dreams make sense? When will I get to live the life you showed me? And I answered him every single morning. But my answer was not a chariot. My answer was not a sudden pardon. My answer was not a miracle that ripped him out of the dungeon in a single night. My answer was presence. My answer was character. My answer was the slow, painful, beautiful process of grinding away everything in Joseph that could not carry the weight of the throne I was preparing for him. Because here is what you do not understand about Joseph. Joseph was not just going to be a ruler. Joseph was going to be a ruler during a famine. He was going to be the man who stored grain for 7 years of hunger. He was going to be the one who saved nations, including the brothers who sold him. And a man like that cannot be built in comfort. A man like that cannot be forged in ease. A man like that must learn to manage scarcity before he can manage abundance. He must learn to forgive before he can be exalted. He must learn to serve before he can sit on the throne. He must learn to interpret dreams in the dark before he can interpret them in the light of Pharaoh's palace. And so, I kept Joseph in the fire until the fire could not burn him anymore. I kept Joseph in the prison until the prison became his pulpit. I kept Joseph in the waiting until the waiting became his weapon. And that is what I am doing with you. But you are trying to escape the very thing that is saving you. You are trying to rush the very process that is making you unshakable. You are begging me to open doors that would collapse under the weight of who you are right now. And because I love you, I'm saying no. Not forever. But not yet. But here's the difference between Joseph and you. Joseph stopped asking for a sign. Do you see that? Joseph stopped waiting for the stars to bow. He stopped watching the horizon for his brothers to appear with an apology. He stopped checking the door of his cell every morning for a guard with a pardon. Instead, Joseph started serving exactly where he was. He interpreted dreams for a butler and a baker in a prison no one left. He did his work with excellence in a place no one was watching. He became the kind of man who could be trusted with a nation because he could be trusted with a dungeon. And that is when I moved, not when Joseph was looking up, when Joseph was looking around, when he stopped asking for a sign and started becoming the sign. And that is what I am waiting for from you. You want me to show you the future, but you will not be faithful in the present. You want me to open the door, but you will not knock on the door right in front of you. You want me to send you a sign, but you will not read the one I have already placed in your hand. The sign should have come yesterday, not because I was late, but because you were looking in the wrong direction. You have been watching the horizon for a ship that is already docked behind you. You have been asking me for rain while standing under a waterfall. You have been praying for bread with a full loaf in your hands, and I need you to hear this with every part of your soul. The sign you are waiting for is already here. It is this ache in your chest that will not go away. It is this restlessness that follows you from room to room. It is this quiet voice that has been whispering to you for weeks, for months, for years, saying, something has to change, something has to break, something has to die so something else can live. That is not anxiety, that is not depression, that is not burnout. That is my voice. That is the sound of the old season ending. That is the sound of the cocoon cracking open. That is the sound of wings being formed in the dark. And you have been medicating the very thing that is trying to save you. You have been numbing the very ache that is trying to lead you home. You have been running from the very discomfort that is trying to birth you into the person I created you to become. Stop running. Stop numbing. Stop distracting. Stop telling yourself that you are fine when you are dying inside. Stop pretending that you can keep carrying what I never asked you to hold. I see you. I see the tears you wipe away in the bathroom at work. I see the way you stare at the ceiling at 3 a.m. I see the way you scroll through your phone looking for something, anything, that will make the noise in your head quiet down for just 5 minutes. I see the way you rehearse conversations that will never happen. I see the way you punish yourself for mistakes you made years ago. I see the way you carry guilt that was never yours to carry. I see the way you have built walls around your heart so high that even you cannot climb back over them. And I'm not angry at you for building those walls. I understand why you built them. You built them because you have been hurt. You built them because people you trusted broke your trust. You built them because you opened your heart and someone dropped it on the floor and walked away. You built them because vulnerability has cost you more than you were willing to pay. But those walls are not keeping you safe anymore. They are keeping you prisoner. And the sign you have been asking for, the one that should have come yesterday, is the sound of those walls beginning to crack. Do you feel it? Do you feel the foundation shifting? Do you feel the familiar ground trembling beneath your feet? That is not disaster coming. That is deliverance. That is not the floor falling out. That is the cage door swinging open. That is not your life falling apart. That is your life finally being put together in the right order for the first time in years. But you have to stop fighting the collapse. You have to stop trying to prop up what I'm trying to tear down. You have to stop running back to what I'm trying to pull you away from. I am not destroying your life. I am destroying your prison. And the pain you feel right now is not the pain of loss. It is the pain of a trapped muscle finally being stretched back into place. It is the pain of a limb that has been asleep finally waking up. It is the pain of a heart that has been frozen finally beginning to thaw. And thaws hurt. Healing hurts. Becoming who you were always meant to be hurts more than staying who you have become. But the staying is killing you, and the leaving is saving you. And that is the sign you have been asking for. The sign is discomfort. The sign is restlessness. The sign is the quiet certainty that you cannot stay here one more day, not one more week, not one more month, not one more year of the same arguments, the same disappointments, the same exhaustion, the same loneliness in crowded rooms, the same pretending that everything is fine when nothing is fine. The sign should have come yesterday, which means you are already late for your own breakthrough. Do you hear the urgency in my voice? I am not distant. I'm not detached. I'm not watching your life like a movie I've already seen. I'm leaning over the edge of heaven, desperate for you to see what I see, desperate for you to understand that the thing you are afraid to lose is the very thing that is killing you, desperate for you to stop clinging to the shore and finally let the current take you where you actually need to go. You are afraid of the unknown, but the unknown is where I live. You are afraid of the wilderness, but the wilderness is where I speak. You are afraid of the silence, but the silence is where you will finally hear me. You have been living in the noise for too long, the noise of other people's opinions, the noise of your own anxious thoughts, the noise of ambition and comparison and fear and regret and shame, and the endless loop of voices telling you that you are not enough, not fast enough, not smart enough, not holy enough, not worthy enough to be loved. And every single one of those voices is a liar. Every single one. I did not create you to live under the weight of those accusations. I created you to live in the freedom of my love. I created you to rest in the finished work of the cross. I created you to walk through this world like a son, like a daughter, like someone who knows exactly who they belong to and why they are here. But you have forgotten. You have forgotten who you are. You have forgotten whose you are. You have forgotten that the same power that raised the dead lives inside you. You have forgotten that the same voice that calmed the sea speaks over your life. You have forgotten that the same hands that formed the stars are holding you right now, and you have been living like an orphan when you have always had a father. Do you remember Elijah? Elijah who called fire down from heaven. Elijah who outran chariots. Elijah who saw the power of God in ways most prophets only dreamed of. And then Elijah ran. He ran from a woman. One woman. Jezebel. She sent him a message, just a message, saying she was going to kill him. And Elijah, the prophet of fire, the man who had just watched God consume a water-soaked sacrifice with flames from the sky, ran into the wilderness and sat under a broom tree and asked to die. "I have had enough, Lord," he said. "Take my life." Do you hear that? The man of fire wanted to die. The prophet of power was exhausted to the point of suicide. And do you know what I did? I did not rebuke him. I did not shame him. I did not tell him to pull himself together and have more faith. I sent an angel with a cake and a jar of water, and I let him sleep. And then I sent the angel again, and then I let him walk for 40 days and 40 nights to a mountain where I finally spoke to him. But here is what I want you to see. I didn't speak to Elijah in the fire. I did not speak to him in the earthquake. I didn't speak to him in the wind. I spoke to him in a still small voice, a gentle whisper, the same whisper you have been hearing in the quiet moments before you fall asleep. The same whisper you have been ignoring because it is too soft, too quiet, too gentle to be the voice of the God who made the universe. But that whisper is me, and I have been whispering the same thing to you that I whispered to Elijah. You are not alone. I have preserved 7,000 who have not bowed the knee to Baal. There is more oil in the jar than you can see. The fire is not finished. The chariots are still coming. Your story does not end under this broom tree. And Elijah got up, not because I gave him a sign in the sky, not because I sent fire again, not because I proved myself with thunder and lightning. Elijah got up because I fed him, because I let him rest, because I spoke to him in a voice so quiet he had to lean in to hear it. And that is what I'm doing with you. I'm feeding you with words right now. I'm letting you rest in the safety of this moment. I am speaking to you in a voice so quiet that the noise of your life has to fade away for you to hear it. And I'm telling you that the sign you have been waiting for is not a burning bush. The sign is the still, small voice telling you to get up. Get up from that place of despair. Get up from that bed of regret. Get up from that chair of self-pity. Get up from that grave you have been lying in even though you are still breathing. Get up and walk. Walk away from what is killing you. Walk toward what is calling you. Walk into the wilderness if you have to. Walk into the unknown if you must. But stop sitting in the ashes waiting for a sign that already came. The sign should have come yesterday, which means you have already wasted today waiting for what you already have. And I'm not saying that to shame you. I'm saying it to wake you up, because there is a ticking clock in the spirit that you cannot see. There is a window of grace that is still open, but will not stay open forever. There is an invitation that is still on the table, but will not wait for you to decide if you are ready. You have been asking me to confirm something I have already confirmed. You have been asking me to speak when I have already spoken. You have been asking me to show you the way when I'm standing right in front of you saying, I am the way. And you have been walking past me every single day because you are looking for something more dramatic, more obvious, more worthy of your attention than the simple, quiet, persistent presence of a God who has never left you. Do you remember Peter? Peter, who walked on water. Peter, who saw Jesus with his own eyes. Peter, who shared meals with the Messiah. Peter, who watched the dead rise and the blind see and the lame walk. And Peter still sank. Not because he lacked faith. Peter sank because he took his eyes off of me. He looked at the waves. He looked at the wind. He looked at the circumstances screaming around him. And the moment he looked away from my face, he started to drown. And what did I do? I did not lecture him. I did not tell him his faith was too small. I did not let him sink to the bottom as punishment for his doubt. I reached out, my hand, and caught him, and I asked him one question. Why did you doubt? Not, why did you fail? Not, why were you afraid? Not, why are you so weak? Why did you doubt? And I am asking you the same question right now. Why are you doubting what I have already told you? Why are you questioning what I have already promised? Why are you looking at the waves when I'm, standing right in front of you with my hand extended? I have told you that I will never leave you. Why do you keep acting like I already have? I have told you that I am working all things together for your good. Why do you keep assuming everything is falling apart? I have told you that I have plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope in a future. Why do you keep planning for disaster? The sign should have come yesterday, not because I'm late, but because you are late. You are late to your own miracle. You are late to your own healing. You are late to your own freedom. You have been standing at the edge of the Red Sea for months, watching the water, waiting for it to part, while I have been whispering, why are you crying out to me? Tell the people to move forward. Move forward. Do you hear me? Move forward. The sea will part when your foot touches the water, not before, not after, not when you have enough faith, not when you feel ready, not when every fear has been resolved and every question has been answered. When your foot touches the water, when you take the step, when you make the call, when you send the text, when you book the appointment, when you pack the boxes, when you say the words you have been afraid to say, when you leave the room, when you close the door, when you finally stop waiting for a sign and become the sign. You are the sign. Your obedience is the sign, is the etant. Your courage is the sign. Your willingness to move when everything in you wants to stay still is the sign that the old season is over and the new season has begun. But you have to move. I cannot move for you. I cannot believe for you. I cannot take the step for you. I can promise you that the ground will be there when your foot comes down. I can promise you that the water will part when you step into it. I can promise you that the chains will fall when you start walking. I can promise you that the walls will crumble when you start shouting. But you have to move. And you have to move now. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel more ready, not when the circumstances are better, not when you have saved more money, not when you have more clarity, not when you have lost the weight, not when you have finished the degree, not when the kids are older, not when the season changes. Now. Because the sign should have come yesterday, and every day you wait is another day you stay in a grave that was never meant to hold you. I'm not asking you to have perfect faith. I'm not asking you to have no fear. I'm asking you to move with your fear. I'm asking you to take the step even while your hands are shaking. I'm asking you to make the call even while your voice is trembling. I'm asking you to say the words even while your heart is pounding. Because courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is fear that has said yes anyway. And you have been waiting for the fear to disappear before you move. It will not disappear. The fear will leave when you stop feeding it, and you feed it every time you wait, every time you hesitate, every time you convince yourself that tomorrow will be easier, every time you tell yourself that you just need one more sign, one more confirmation, one more whisper from heaven before you finally do what you already know you need to do. That is not faith. That is fear dressed in spiritual language. That is disobedience wrapped in prayer. That is resistance disguised as waiting on me. And I need you to hear this with every fiber of your being. I'm not honored by your delay. I'm not glorified by your hesitation. I'm not pleased when you confuse cowardice with patience. There is a holy patience that trusts my timing, and there is a sinful delay that hides from my will. You have been hiding. You have been hiding behind the word waiting when I have already told you to go. You have been hiding behind discernment when you already know the answer. You have been hiding behind prayer when prayer has become your excuse for disobedience. And the sign you have been asking for is the growing discomfort you feel every time you pretend you do not know what to do. You know. You know exactly what I'm asking you to do. You have known for months, maybe for years. And you have been negotiating, compromising, bargaining, telling yourself that maybe you misunderstood. Maybe it was just your imagination. Maybe God does not actually expect you to do that. Maybe there is another way. Maybe if you wait long enough, The feeling will go away, and you will not have to do the hard thing. But the feeling has not gone away, because I have not gone away, and I will not go away. I will keep whispering. I will keep nudging. I will keep pushing. I will keep allowing circumstances to become more and more uncomfortable until you finally do what I asked you to do in the first place. Because I love you too much to let you settle for a life of obedient disobedience. I love you too much to let you call your fear wisdom. I love you too much to let you stay in a season that ended years ago. The sign should have come yesterday. Do you understand? Yesterday. You are late. You are late to the freedom I purchased for you. You are late to the healing I provided for you. You are late to the joy that has been sitting on the table waiting for you to pull up your chair. And the enemy of your soul has been delighted by your delay. He has been laughing at your hesitation. He has been celebrating every time you talked yourself out of obedience, every time you chose comfort over courage, every time you stayed in the familiar cage instead of stepping into the unknown field, every time you let the fear of what people might think override the voice of the one who made the people. He has been stealing your time. He has been stealing your days. He has been stealing your years, and you have been helping him. Not because you are evil, not because you do not love me, but because you are afraid, and fear has been your prison warden. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of looking foolish, fear of losing what little you have left, fear of being alone, fear of making the wrong decision, fear of regretting the choice you make today for the rest of your life. But here is what you need to understand about fear. Fear is not a sign that you are on the wrong path. Fear is often a sign that you are on the right path, because the enemy does not waste his arrows on targets that are not a threat. He is not afraid of you staying where you are. He is terrified of you moving forward. He is terrified of you taking the step. He is terrified of you saying yes to what I have called you to do. And so he sends fear. He sends doubt. He sends confusion. He sends every voice, every distraction, every delay he can muster to keep you sitting exactly where you are. Because he knows what I know. He knows that the moment you move, chains break. He knows that the moment you obey, strongholds fall. He knows that the moment you take the step, the sea parts. And he has been winning. Not because he is stronger than me, but because you have been agreeing with him. Every time you choose fear over faith, you are agreeing with the enemy. Every time you choose delay over obedience, you are agreeing with the enemy. Every time you choose comfort over courage, you are agreeing with the enemy. And I'm not saying that to make you feel guilty. I am saying it to make you angry. I want you to get angry at the thief who has been stealing your life. I want you to get angry at the liar who has been whispering that you are not strong enough, not brave enough, not worthy enough to walk into everything I have prepared for you. I want you to get angry at the years you have lost to fear. And I want you to let that anger become holy violence against every chain that has been holding you back. It is time to break something. It is time to shatter something. It is time to tear down the altar of delay you have been worshiping at for far too long. It is time to burn the bridges to your old life so you cannot run back to Egypt when the wilderness gets hard. It is time to draw a line in the sand and say, no further. Not one more day, not one more hour, not one more minute of living beneath my inheritance. Because the sign should have come yesterday, and you have wasted enough of my grace. Not because I am running out of grace. I am not. My grace is infinite. My mercy is new every morning. My love for you has no end and no limit and no condition. But my patience with your disobedience is not infinite. Not because I am cruel, but because I am holy. And I cannot keep blessing you while you keep running in the wrong direction. I cannot keep providing for you while you keep using my provision to fund your rebellion. I cannot keep protecting you while you keep walking back into the very traps I already delivered you from. There is a moment when grace becomes an accomplice to sin if I do not withdraw my hand and let you feel the full weight of what you are choosing. And that moment is coming, not as punishment, as rescue. Because sometimes the kindest thing I can do is let you hit the bottom. Sometimes the most loving thing I can do is let the consequences of your choices become painful enough that you finally turn around. Sometimes the greatest mercy I can show you is to stop preventing the very disaster you have been running toward, so that the disaster can finally wake you up. I am not threatening you. I am warning you, the way a father warns a child who is about to touch a hot stove. The way a lifeguard warns a swimmer who has gone past the ropes. The way a doctor warns a patient who keeps ignoring the symptoms. I'm warning you because I love you, and I need you to hear me before it is too late. Not too late for salvation, not too late for redemption, not too late for my love, but too late for this specific door, too late for this specific season, too late for this specific invitation that is still on the table right now, but will not be there next week. There are windows of grace that close. There are seasons of visitation that end. There are moments when I knock, and if you do not open the door, I move on to someone else who will. Not because I stop loving you, but because I have work to do on the earth, and I will not let your disobedience stop my purposes. I will raise up someone else. I will anoint another vessel. I will find another heart that is willing to say yes when you said no. And you will watch from a distance as someone else walks through the door you were too afraid to open. Someone else receives the blessing you were too slow to reach for. Someone else steps into the destiny you were too comfortable to claim, and you will weep. Not because I am cruel, but because you will finally see what you could have had if you had only moved when I said move. Do not let that be your story. Do not let that be your testimony. Do not let that be the legacy of your hesitation. The sign should have come yesterday. So today, you have no more excuses. Today, the waiting ends. Today, the debating ends. Today, the negotiating ends. Today, the hiding ends. Today, you decide. Not tomorrow. Today, right now, in this moment, with this message still ringing in your ears and this weight still pressing on your chest, you decide. Are you going to keep waiting for a sign that already came? Or are you going to finally take the step? I'm not asking you to have all the answers. I'm not asking you to see the whole path. I'm asking you to take one step. Just one. The next step, the step right in front of you, the step you have known you needed to take for weeks, for months, for years. That phone call you have been avoiding, that conversation you have been dreading, that boundary you have been afraid to set, that apology you have been too proud to offer, that forgiveness you have been too hurt to extend, that dream you have been too scared to pursue, that habit you have been too attached to break, that person you have been too comfortable to leave, that place you have been too familiar to abandon. Take the step. I will be there. I have always been there. I'm not asking you to walk alone. I'm asking you to walk with me. But you have to walk. You have to move your feet. You have to open your mouth. You have to lift your hand. You have to make the choice. And the choice is not between comfort and discomfort. The choice is between life and death, between freedom and bondage, between your destiny and your regret. Choose life. Choose freedom. Choose the step. The sign should have come yesterday. So today, you become the sign. Today, you become the proof that God is still speaking, that God is still moving, that God is still calling ordinary, frightened, exhausted people to do extraordinary, terrifying, world-changing things. Today, you become the evidence that the waiting is over. Not because I finally gave you what you wanted, but because you finally gave me what I asked for. Your yes, your step, your trust, your trembling, shaking, terrified, beautiful obedience. And that obedience will become the key that unlocks everything. Everything you have been waiting for, everything you have been praying for, everything I have been preparing for you since before you were born. It is all on the other side of the step. Take it. I am right here. I have always been right here, and I'm not going anywhere. But you have to move, now. You are still here. You stayed. You did not click away. You did not let the noise pull you back. You kept listening. Even after the silence returned. Even after the last words faded. Even after the weight of everything I said pressed down on places inside you that you have not visited in years. And that tells me something. That tells me you are ready for more. Not because you have arrived, not because you have figured everything out, not because the fear has finally left you, but because something in you is hungry. Something in you knows that you are standing at the edge of a turning point. Something in you can feel the old season cracking open like ice on a river in spring, and you are terrified and hopeful and exhausted and awake all at the same time. I know that feeling. I know the dizziness of standing between two worlds. I know the ache of leaving behind what was never meant to stay. I know the strange, quiet grief that comes even when you are walking toward freedom, because freedom has a cost. Freedom means letting go. Freedom means turning your back on the familiar, even when the familiar was killing you. And you have been grieving. You have been grieving relationships that should have ended years ago. You have been grieving versions of yourself that you are finally outgrowing. You have been grieving the dreams you built on sand, the ones that looked so beautiful in the sunlight, but could not survive the first storm. You have been grieving what could have been, what should have been, what almost was, and I have not rushed your grief. I have not told you to hurry up and get over it. I have not called your tears a lack of faith. I have not stood at a distance while you wept, tapping my foot, waiting for you to pull yourself together. I have sat with you in the ashes. I have held you while you could not hold yourself. I have let you ask me why, over and over and over again. I have let you tell me that you are angry. I have let you tell me that this was not the plan. I have let you tell me that you feel betrayed, forgotten, passed over, left behind. And I have not defended myself, because you do not need my defense right now. You need my presence. You need to know that I am not afraid of your anger. I am not threatened by your questions. I am not offended by your doubt. I am the God who let Job scream at me from the ash heap. I am the God who let Jeremiah curse the day he was born. I am the God who let David write psalms that sound like someone who has forgotten that I am good. And I am still here. I am still here after every accusation. I am still here after every silent treatment. I am still here after every time you chose the sin over the Savior, the comfort over the cross, the familiar chains over the unknown freedom. I have not left. I will not leave. But something has shifted. Do you feel it? The air is different now. The silence is different now. The weight pressing on your chest is not the same weight you carried yesterday. Something has been lifted. Something has been loosened. Something has been cut loose. Even if you cannot see what it was yet, that is the step you took. Even if you did not move your body, you moved your heart. Even if you did not change your circumstances, you changed your allegiance. Even if nothing looks different on the outside, everything is different on the inside. Because you finally stopped negotiating. You finally stopped bargaining. You finally stopped asking me to bless what I'm trying to end. And that one shift, that one tiny, invisible, world-shattering shift, has opened a door in the spirit that the enemy has been trying to keep closed for years. Do you understand what just happened? You passed through a gate that has been guarded since before you were born. You crossed a line that demons have been patrolling. You walked into a new territory that your previous fears could not enter, and you did not even know it. You were just sitting here, listening, breathing, letting the words sink into places that have been dry for so long you forgot they could still feel anything at all. But I knew. I saw the moment your heart surrendered. I saw the moment you stopped trying to control the outcome. I saw the moment you let go of the rope you have been clinging to, the rope that was tied to a boat that was never going to come back to shore. And in that moment, everything changed. Not because you fixed yourself, not because you became perfect, not because you finally said all the right prayers in all the right ways. Everything changed because you stopped pretending. You stopped pretending you were fine. You stopped pretending you had it all together. You stopped pretending that the pain was not really pain, that the exhaustion was not really exhaustion, that the loneliness was not really eating you alive from the inside out. You stopped pretending. And I can work with honesty. I can work with someone who says, I am angry. I can work with someone who says, I'm afraid. I can work with someone who says, I do not understand and I cannot see the way forward and I am not sure I even believe anymore. I can work with that. Because that is not rebellion, that is honesty. And honesty is the foundation of intimacy. But pretending? Pretending builds walls. Pretending keeps you distant. Pretending makes you perform for a God who already knows every secret thought you have ever had. And you have been pretending for so long that you forgot you were acting. You forgot that the smile you put on every morning is not your real face. You forgot that the words you say in conversations are rehearsed lines from a script you wrote to keep everyone from seeing how much you are struggling. You forgot that the person everyone else knows is not actually you. But I know you. I know the you that exists beneath the performance. I know the you that cries in the shower. I know the you that stares at the ceiling at 3 a.m. I know the you that replays old conversations and imagines saying all the things you were too afraid to say. I know the you that is still a child, still hurting, still waiting for someone to finally see you and love you exactly as you are. That is the you I'm speaking to right now, not the performer, not the pretender, not the person who has been working so hard to hold everything together that they forgot they were falling apart. The real you, the hidden you. The you that you've been hiding from everyone, including yourself. And I'm telling you that the hiding can stop now. The performance can end. The mask can come off. You do not have to be strong with me. You do not have to have the right words. You do not have to pretend that you are not exhausted, not confused, not struggling with the same sins, the same fears, the same doubts that have been chasing you for years. I already know. I already see. And I'm not disgusted. I am not disappointed. I'm not standing at a distance, arms crossed, waiting for you to finally get it right. I'm sitting with you in the mess. I am kneeling beside you in the rubble. I am holding your face in my hands, wiping the tears from your cheeks and whispering the same thing I have been whispering since the beginning. You are mine. Not because you earned it, not because you deserved it, not because you finally figured out how to be good enough, because I chose you. Before you took your first breath, I chose you. Before you made your first mistake, I chose you. Before you wandered into the far country and wasted everything on wild living, I was already running toward you, already watching the horizon, already planning the feast I would throw the moment you came home. And you are coming home. Not all at once, not in a single dramatic moment, not in a way that will make sense to anyone watching from the outside. But you are coming home, step by step, choice by choice, surrender by surrender. You are walking away from the pigsty. You are walking away from the husks that never satisfied. You are walking away from the famine that has been starving your soul for years. And you are walking toward me, even when it does not feel like it, even when you cannot see me, even when the path is dark and the silence is heavy and you wonder if you are walking in circles. You are walking toward me because I am drawing you. I have been drawing you since the day you were born. Every moment of hunger, every ache for something more, every restless night, every unanswered question, every moment of beauty that made you weep for reasons you could not explain. That was me. That was always me, drawing you, calling you, whispering your name in a voice so gentle that you almost missed it, so persistent that you could never fully ignore it, so loving that it outlasted every rebellion, every doubt, every season of running away. You cannot outrun my love. You cannot exhaust my patience. You cannot use up all of my grace. You can try. You can run to the farthest corner of the earth. You can dive into the deepest ocean. You can climb to the highest mountain. You can lose yourself in work, in relationships, in substances, in success, in the endless pursuit of more, more, more. And I will still be there, not as a detective tracking down a criminal, as a father searching for a lost child, as a shepherd leaving the 99 to find the one who wandered away, as a woman sweeping the house, lighting a lamp, searching carefully until she finds the coin she thought she had lost forever. I will not stop looking for you. I will not stop calling your name. I will not stop pursuing you, even when you are hiding from me, even when you are angry at me, even when you have convinced yourself that you are too far gone, too broken, too damaged, too dirty to ever come home. There is no too far gone with me. There is no too broken. There is no too dirty. There is only my love, which is stronger than your sin, my grace, which is deeper than your shame, my mercy, which is wider than your rebellion. And I am pouring it all out on you right now, not because you asked for it, not because you deserve it, because I am who I am. I am the God who loves because it is my nature to love. I am the God who forgives because it is my joy to forgive. I am the God who restores because I am the God of resurrection, and I have never lost a single thing that was given into my hands. Do you remember Peter? Not the Peter who walked on water, not the Peter who preached on the day of Pentecost, not the Peter who wrote letters that would become scripture, the other Peter, the Peter who denied me 3 times in one night, with curses, with oaths, with the sound of a rooster crowing in his ears and the memory of my eyes meeting his across the courtyard. That Peter wept, that Peter ran, that Peter went back to fishing because he thought he had destroyed everything. He thought he had disqualified himself. He thought he had used up all his chances. He thought that the look in my eyes was a look of condemnation, of disappointment, of final rejection. But it was not. The look in my eyes was grief. Not because I was angry at Peter, because I knew what Peter did not know. I knew that he was about to spend 3 days in the darkest night of his soul, believing that he had lost everything. I knew that he was about to drown in shame. I knew that he was about to wish he had never been born, and I could not tell him the end of the story. I could not tell him that Sunday was coming. I could not tell him that the rooster crow would not be the last word. I could not tell him that he would stand up on the day of Pentecost and preach a sermon that would save 3,000 souls. I had to let him walk through the darkness. I had to let him feel the weight of his failure. I had to let him sit in the ashes of his own denial. But I never stopped loving him. And when I rose from the grave, the first person I sent a message to was Peter. Tell my disciples, and Peter. Tell Peter specifically, not just the 11, not just the ones who stayed. Tell Peter, the one who ran, the one who denied, the one who thought he was finished. Tell him I am alive. Tell him I am not angry. Tell him there is still a place for him at the table. Tell him the rooster does not get the final word, and I'm telling you the same thing right now. The rooster does not get the final word. Your failure does not get the final word. Your shame does not get the final word. Your past does not get the final word. The voices that whisper that you are disqualified, that you have gone too far, that you have made too many mistakes, that you have used up all your chances, those voices are liars. They are the same voices that whispered to Peter in the courtyard. They are the same voices that whispered to David after Bathsheba. They are the same voices that whispered to Moses at the burning bush. And they have been defeated. They were defeated at the cross. They were silenced in the tomb. They were stripped of their power when I rose from the dead. And you do not have to listen to them anymore. You do not have to live under their accusations. You do not have to carry the weight of what you have done, because I already carried it. I already paid for it. I already buried it in the deepest sea, and I posted a sign that says, "No fishing." It is finished, not almost finished, not mostly finished, not finished if you are good enough. Finished, complete, paid in full, and the only thing left for you to do is receive it. Receive the forgiveness you have been trying to earn. Receive the love you have been trying to deserve. Receive the grace you have been trying to pay back. Receive the rest you have been trying to work for. Stop striving. Stop performing. Stop trying to fix yourself before you come to me. Come to me as you are, exhausted, broken, failing, frightened, angry, doubtful, unclean. Come to me, and I will give you rest. Not the kind of rest that comes from a vacation, not the kind of rest that comes from sleeping in on Saturday, not the kind of rest that comes from finally finishing that project, finally paying off that debt, finally fixing that relationship. The rest that comes from knowing you are loved, the rest that comes from knowing you are safe, the rest that comes from knowing that the battle is already won, that the victory is already secured, that the outcome is already certain. That rest is available to you right now. Not tomorrow, not when you are better, not when you have finally overcome that habit, finally forgiven that person, finally figured out your purpose. Right now, in this moment, while you are still sitting in the mess, still wearing the ashes, still smelling like the pigsty, you can come home. And the Father is already running toward you. Do you see him? Do you see the robe in his hands? Do you see the ring on his finger? Do you see the sandals waiting for your feet? Do you hear the music, the celebration, the sound of the feast being prepared? That is for you. That has always been for you, and the only thing that has kept you from the table is your own belief that you do not belong there. You have been standing outside the door, cold and hungry, watching the light through the window, listening to the laughter from inside, believing that you are not welcome. But the door is open. It has always been open, and I am standing in the doorway, not with a list of conditions, not with a lecture about everything you have done wrong, but with open arms and tears in my eyes and a single word on my lips. Welcome home. Welcome home, my child. Welcome home. Do you remember the prodigal, the younger son who demanded his inheritance early, the younger son who took everything his father had worked for and wasted it on wild living? The younger son who ended up in a pigsty, eating slop, dreaming of the servants in his father's house because at least they had enough to eat. And do you know what finally brought him home? It was not guilt. It was not shame. It was not fear of punishment. It was hunger. He was hungry. He was starving. The husks he was eating could not satisfy the deep, aching emptiness in his belly. And in that hunger, he remembered. He remembered that there was bread in his father's house. He remembered that even the servants had enough. He remembered that he did not have to live like this. He did not have to die in the pigsty. So he got up. He rehearsed his speech. He practiced his apology. He planned to tell his father that he was no longer worthy to be called a son. But his father did not let him finish the speech. The father saw him while he was still a long way off. The father ran. The father fell on his neck and kissed him. The father called for the robe, the ring, the sandals, the fatted calf. The father celebrated, not because the son had earned it, not because the son had finally gotten his act together, not because the son had proven that he had changed. The father celebrated because his son was home, because the one who was dead was alive again, because the one who was lost had been found. And that is how I feel about you. Right now, in this moment, while you are still a long way off, while you are still rehearsing your speech, while you are still trying to figure out how to tell me that you are sorry, that you know you messed up, that you do not deserve to be called my child. I am already running toward you. I am already throwing my arms around your neck. I am already calling for the celebration to begin, not because you have earned it, because you are mine, because you have always been mine, because nothing you have done has changed that, and nothing you could ever do will change that. Do you hear the music? Do you feel the ground shaking beneath the feet of the dancers? Do you smell the feast being prepared? It is for you. It has always been for you. And you do not have to stay in the pigsty one more day, but you are afraid. I know. You are afraid that if you come home, you will have to face the mess you left behind. You are afraid that if you come home, you will have to look your father in the eye after everything you have done. You are afraid that if you come home, you will have to let go of the things you have been clinging to, even though those things have been destroying you. You are afraid that home is too good to be true, that the love I am offering is too generous, too unconditional, too scandalous to be real. You are afraid that I am like the people who have hurt you, the ones who said they loved you and then left, the ones who promised to stay and then broke their promises, the ones who used your vulnerability against you, who twisted your trust into a weapon, who made you believe that love is something you have to earn and prove and pay for. I'm not like them. I cannot be like them, because I am not a person. I am love. I do not have love. I am love. Everything I am is love. Every thought I have toward you is love. Every action I take toward you is love. Every word I speak over you is love. Even when I correct you, it is love. Even when I discipline you, it is love. Even when I allow pain to enter your life, it is love. Not the weak, sentimental, permissive love that lets you destroy yourself. The strong, fierce, relentless love that will not let you go. The love that will burn away everything in you that is not true, everything that is not real, everything that is not worthy of the destiny I've prepared for you. That love is scary, I know, because that love demands everything. That love will not let you keep your idols. That love will not let you hold on to your secret sins. That love will not let you build your life on the sand and call it a kingdom. That love will strip away everything that is not me until all that is left is me and you and the unshakable, unbreakable, unending union that I created you for before the foundation of the world. And that stripping away is painful. It is the pain of surgery that removes the cancer. It is the pain of the physical therapist stretching the atrophied muscle. It is the pain of the fire burning away the dross so that the gold can be revealed in its purest form. It hurts, but the hurt is not punishment. The hurt is healing. The hurt is preparation. The hurt is the sound of the old self dying so that the new self can finally breathe. And you have been avoiding that hurt. You have been numbing it, distracting yourself from it, running from it, drowning it in noise and activity and consumption and busyness and everything else the world has offered you as a substitute for the transformation I'm trying to accomplish in you. But the hurt is still there. The pain is still there. The hunger is still there. And it will not go away until you let me complete what I started. Do you remember Jacob? Jacob the deceiver, Jacob the supplanter, Jacob who stole his brother's birthright and his brother's blessing and ran for his life. Jacob who spent 20 years being deceived by his uncle Laban, who was paid in sheep and goats and daughters and dreams deferred. And then Jacob came to a river, the Jabbok. And Jacob sent everything he had across the river, his wives, his children, his flocks, his herds, everything he had accumulated in 20 years of striving and scheming and serving. And Jacob stayed on the other side of the river alone, and a man came, and they wrestled. All night long, Jacob wrestled with me, not because I was trying to hurt him, because I was trying to bless him. But Jacob could not receive the blessing until he had been emptied of everything that was not ready to receive it. And so, we wrestled. Jacob held on, even when I touched his hip and put it out of joint, even when his body screamed in pain, even when every instinct told him to let go. Jacob held on, and he said, I will not let you go unless you bless me. and I asked him a question. What is your name? Not because I did not know his name, because Jacob needed to hear himself say it. He needed to speak the truth about who he had been. He needed to confess the identity he had built on deception and striving and self-preservation. Jacob, he said, deceiver, supplanter, schemer. And I said, your name will no longer be Jacob, it will be Israel, because you have struggled with God and with men and have overcome. And Jacob walked away with a new name and a limp. The blessing came with a limp. The transformation came with a wound. The new identity was born out of a night of desperate, painful, exhausting wrestling. And that is what is happening to you right now. You are wrestling. You have been wrestling for years, wrestling with me, wrestling with your circumstances, wrestling with your own heart, wrestling with the fear and the doubt and the shame and the regret. And you are tired. You are so tired. You want to let go. You want to give up. You want to walk away from the wrestling and go back to the familiar, even though the familiar was never really home. But I'm asking you to hold on. Just a little longer. Just until the sun rises, just until the blessing comes, because it is coming. The blessing is closer than you think. The new name is being carved into your heart even as you read these words. The limp that will be your testimony is being formed in the very places where you feel the weakest. And you will walk away from this season different, not perfect, not finished, not free from every struggle, but different, changed, marked by an encounter with me that no one can take away from you. Do you remember the woman at the well? The woman who came at noon, the woman who came when no one else was there, the woman who had been married 5 times and was living with a man who was not her husband, the woman who had learned to avoid the other women, the woman who had learned to hide, the woman who had learned that the daylight was too bright, the gossip too sharp, the judgment too heavy. She came at noon, and I was there, waiting for her, not with a sermon, not with a list of her sins, not with a lecture about everything she had done wrong, with a conversation, with a request. Give me a drink. And in that simple request, I opened a door. I invited her into a conversation that would change everything. I showed her that I knew everything she had ever done, and I was still sitting there, still asking her for water, still treating her like a person instead of a project. And she ran back to the village, the same village where she had been gossiped about, the same village where she had been judged and rejected and shamed. She ran back and she said, "Come see a man who told me everything I ever did." Not everything I ever did wrong. Everything I ever did, the good and the bad, the beautiful and the ugly, the moments of hope and the moments of shame. And he did not run away. He stayed. He saw me, and he did not leave. That is what I have done with you. I have seen everything. Every secret, every failure, every moment you are ashamed of, every thought you have never spoken out loud, every wound you have hidden behind a smile, every fear you have buried beneath busyness. I have seen it all, and I am still here. I did not run away. I did not turn my back. I did not add my voice to the chorus of condemnation that has been playing in your head for years. I am still sitting at the well. I am still asking you for a drink. I am still inviting you into a conversation that will change everything. Will you stay? Will you sit with me a little longer? Will you let me show you who you really are? Not the person your parents told you you were, not the person your exes made you feel like you were, not the person your failures have convinced you that you are, the person I created you to be, the person I see when I look at you. The person you have been running from your whole life because you were afraid she was not real, not possible, not meant for someone like you. She is real. She is possible. She is meant for you, and she is waiting for you on the other side of the surrender. Not the other side of the perfection. The other side of the surrender. The surrender that says, I cannot do this on my own. The surrender that says, I need you. The surrender that says, I'm not strong enough, but you are. The surrender that says, take my life, all of it, the good parts and the broken parts. Take it and do whatever you want with it. That surrender is not weakness. That surrender is the greatest strength you will ever know, because that surrender is the moment you stop fighting a battle you were never meant to fight alone. That surrender is the moment you let the one who spoke the universe into existence take the lead in your tiny, precious, infinitely valuable life. That surrender is the moment everything changes, and you are so close. You are closer than you know. You are standing at the edge of the Jabbok. You have sent everything across the river. You are alone in the dark, and you feel the hands of the wrestler on your shoulders. Do not let go. Hold on, even when it hurts, even when you do not understand, even when the sun takes forever to rise. Hold on. The blessing is coming. Your new name is coming. The limp that will become your testimony is being formed even now. And when the sun finally rises, you will walk away from this place different. Not because you finally figured everything out, because you finally stayed, because you finally stopped running, because you finally let me touch the deepest, darkest, most hidden places in your soul, and you did not run away from the pain of being truly seen. That is the sign you have been waiting for. Not fire from heaven, not a parting sea, not a voice from a whirlwind. The sign is this: you are still here. You are still listening. You are still wrestling. You are still hoping, even when hope has been a dangerous thing for you in the past. The sign is your own stubborn, desperate, beautiful refusal to give up. That is me. That has always been me. I am the one who put that refusal in your heart. I am the one who has kept you fighting, even when you wanted to lay down and die. I am the one who whispered your name in the dark and reminded you that you are not alone. And I am not going to stop. I'm going to keep whispering. I'm going to keep wrestling. I'm going to keep pursuing you until the day you finally stop running and let me catch you. And when I catch you, I'm not going to let you go. Not ever. Not for one moment. Not for all of eternity. You are mine. You have always been mine, and I am bringing you home.